Hey everyone, welcome to None Such Farm. Today is more of I'm not cooking, canning, doing any food preservation or anything like that. I'm not making a worm village or anything. Today I wanted to talk to you about dementia and being a caregiver. I have seen a lot of YouTube videos out there telling people how to treat people with dementia. Some of the things that I've seen are just crazy. Now, for those of you that don't know me, and I do have quite a few of you that have subscribed that don't know me, I worked at the hospital, at my local hospital for 20 years. I had a house next door to my parents, and my mom, it must have been about 7 or 8 years ago, she just started acting kind of off. The first thing that I know, my dad would say things that, your mother's doing this, your mother's doing that, and it didn't seem right. And my mom was in her 70s at the time, and she's now 80, she will be 87 in July. The first time I really noticed that something was off, it was Thanksgiving. Mom always was the one to be in the kitchen cooking, and she didn't really want help. That was her thing. She was the cook of the family. And she was making her stuffing, and I was over at the stove, thank goodness, watching her, and she grabbed the cinnamon to put in her stuffing. I said, Mom, that doesn't go in there. I know how my mom makes her stuffing. And she had no clue. She didn't have a clue. And I thought, well, that's odd. And then the dead giveaway was she called me at work one day crying. Now, if you knew my mom, I have never in my life seen or heard my mom cry. Never. We lost our brother. I was 14 when he passed away in a car accident. Never saw her cry. She was there for all of us kids. And I know she did. Of course she would. It's her firstborn, but she was not one to show that emotion to us kids. She was such a strong woman. Well, she called me at work one day crying, and she said that she had cancer. The doctor called her. Honestly, it was such a traumatic phone call for me. I don't even remember half of it. So I said, Mom, don't worry. I will call your doctor. We'll take care of this. So I spent several phone calls with her doctor. He was her dermatologist, and she had skin cancer. She's had skin cancer forever, which was a nasty gene she passed on to me. I've got it on my face. I got to have taken care of. But so I called the doctor, and he talked way above me. Now, I'm in the medical field. I know a lot of medical. He talked way above me. Mom wanted to go to Boston to see a dermatologist in Boston. And we were like, yep, if you want to do that, we'll do that. We'll take you to Boston. So my brother, my dad, and I made the appointment, and my brother and my dad and I were all set to take her to Boston. I think it was on a Monday. Well, that weekend, I thought she was on death's door. She looked awful. She was gray. She was sick as a dog. She thought she was dying. We thought she was dying because we thought she had cancer. She told us she had cancer. And the way the doctor explained it, I really didn't get any answers. So I contacted my family and said, you guys, this is it. I think Mom is dying. You better come visit her because we don't know what's going to happen. She just kept saying, I don't want to die in Boston. It's, Mom, we're going to bring you home. You're not dying in Boston. So she came out of it that Sunday. So we took her to Boston. Come to find out, the cream that her dermatologist was giving her for her skin cancer had chemo-like side effects, and that's why she was so sick. Now, she had stopped that several days prior to us going to Boston, so it had worn off, and she started to feel better. So come to find out, she didn't have cancer. Now, when somebody has dementia, they're in denial. Most cases, they are in denial. So I called her, she saw a nurse practitioner. I called her nurse practitioner. I said, I think mom has dementia, Alzheimer's, there's something going on with her. And I want her tested, but she's going to get angry with me if we let the cat out of the bag. Can we make an appointment and have you secretly test her? And yep, tell her that her blood work came back. I need to run some more tests. We'll do that. So I got her in there. I went with her for this appointment. My dad stayed out in the truck while we get in there, and she can't find her glasses. She says they're in her coat. So I went out, not in her coat, went out to the truck, not in the truck. So I gave her my glasses. She had to do this little written test that they do for memory for memory issues for people. And she failed. Of course, she failed. Well, then her nurse practitioner lets the cat out of the bag and says, well, you're in here because Meredith and your family have concerns about your memory. And whoa, that did not go over well with my mother. So the nurse practitioner was getting ready to end the appointment. And I said, you know what? I'm going to step out for a few minutes and get my coat. So if you guys want to talk alone, Mom, if you have any questions, you can talk. They were in there for like a half an hour. So when Mom came out, I grabbed her coat and I went to help her put it on, and she was very snarky with me. I walked her out to the car and said, Burr, it's cold out here, isn't it? She wouldn't say a word. Opened the car door, helped her in, and I said, okay, I'll see you later. And before I could get that out of my mouth, she slammed the door shut on me. I'm like, oh my word, she's so mad. I called my brother AJ and I told him, he goes, I'll go talk to her tonight. Well, come to find out, they went out to lunch, my mom and dad, with some friends and family. And she did nothing but complain about me and my brother AJ. We had it out for her. We were being sneaky. And my dad just shut her down and said, listen, you stop it. They care about you. And that's why they did this. So anyways, this is how we got the diagnosis for dementia. Now, she continued to kind of be in denial about it. So that's the beginning. That's how it all started. So if you see family that just things aren't right, they're a little off, do what I did. They'll get over it. Take them to be tested, because it's so important that they are diagnosed with something, because you need to then watch. You need to watch them and see what they're doing. So fast forward like a year, maybe. No, not even. Well, let me talk about this. So after she was diagnosed, we had a family meeting, and all she asked was not to be put in a home. Now, I am the only child of theirs that has medical experience. I worked at the hospital, but I also picked up shifts at a nursing home that is just dementia. So I knew I had experience. So I said, absolutely not. You're not going in a home. I've worked them. I don't want you in a home. I've worked with horrible staff that treat them horribly, and I have seen what other dementia residents can do to people with dementia. And I didn't want my mom in that environment. She's tiny. Not to mention, she became aggressive with her as her dementia progressed. And if she was aggressive with other dementia people, especially the big men, it would not have gone over well for her. She would have been hurt badly. Even the women there. When you have dementia and you're aggressive, you have strength that no idea where it came from. But anyways, so I promised Mom, you're not going in a home. So fast forward to a couple years ago, Dad was lame. He had bad knees. He couldn't keep up with her. Well, she kept getting out, and he'd lose her. She would be down in the woods. We'd have to call the police with their dogs to come find her. One night in the middle of the night, my brother found her next door. She had fallen over a log, and it became unsafe. And when that happened, I came over, and I would come over like 3 times a week. Or Dad would just call me and say, Meredith, can you come help me with your mom or whatever? I was here almost daily sometimes. So I came over and I talked to Dad. I said, Dad, you can't do this anymore on your own. This is too much for you. So I came up with a plan. I'm going to sell my house. I'm going to cut down to per diem at work. Now, per diem is just working a few days a week. And I'm going to move in and help you. The deal is, though, I get the house for what's owed on it, because I don't have a house anymore and I need something when you guys pass. And yep, all for it. So we had a family meeting that was decided. I am their medical POA along with my brother AJ. My sister and AJ are their financial POA. So they took care of the bills. I didn't have to worry about that end. My concentration was taking care of my parents. So there were times I never realized how badly my dad had it until I moved in. Awful. It was awful. She was so combative with him. I had to step between them so many times because she'd get so aggressive, and he'd sit there and take it. She'd throw her drinks at him. It was just awful for him. I just felt so bad. She'd get him up in the middle of the night, and he wasn't well. He had a really bad heart. He was in and out of the hospital too. So he passed away. I moved in October, November, December, January. He passed away 3 months after I moved in. It was almost as though he knew she would be fine. It was suddenly too. I found him in his bed. He had taken a nap. He wasn't feeling good for like a couple days, like flu-like symptoms. Come to find out, I think he had the big one. He had a big heart attack. But I think he passed knowing Mom was going to be cared for with me here. So as her dementia progressed, I have seen videos of people saying, speak to them like they're an adult. Speak to them, be firm and talk to them like an adult. Orient them to why? What is orienting them going to do for them? My mom degressed in her age as her dementia progressed. So she would act like a child. She would go, she eventually, she doesn't know me. And that's been going on for about a year and a half. And once in a great while, she will, less often as it progressed. But now she has no idea who I am. And that doesn't bother me. Being a caregiver of somebody with dementia, especially if it's your mom or your dad, you cannot take any of that personally. It did not upset me that she didn't know me because I knew that was going to happen. It's not her fault. The biggest thing is it sucks that she has to live this horrible, horrible life in this world that she has no idea where she is, who she's with. There were times when she would go to the front door and bang on it and cry for her mom and dad. She was a child. So I felt like her kidnapper. And I wasn't orienting her to where she is and that her parents are dead. I would tell her the only trip I ever remember my Gram and Gramp taken, they were farmers. So the only trip I ever remember them taken was they went to Niagara Falls on a bus trip with Eastern Star. I just kept saying that to Mom over and over again. I said, they'll be home later, or they're not going to make it back tonight. Or if they do, it's going to be like, I just really made great stories. And it made her happy. It stopped her from crying. So lie to them. There have been times like she doesn't know my dad has passed. And she never knew. Even when he passed, she had no idea. Even though we had her sit with him before they took him, she had no idea what was going on. Sometimes she would come to and say, where's Dick? And I'd tell her, he's working down at Richard's shop. Richard's swamped, he's behind. And that's what my dad did. He helped my brother. And so that appeased her. If I had told her every time that Dad passed away, she would grieve every single time. So why would somebody put a person through that? And I've watched a lot of videos where these experts say to do that. Don't do that. Why? As a caregiver of somebody with dementia, I know what's best for my mom. And my goal is to make my mom as happy and comfortable as I can. And the disease fights that. So you have to fight harder. But she was extremely aggressive. Right now, she is at the end stage of her life. And we think she might have maybe just a few weeks to live. She's completely bedbound now. But before that, she would pace. Her thing was pacing back and forth into the kitchen, into the living room. that was her thing. Now, my mom is very physically fit, or she was. She played hockey in her 70s with my family. I can show you a picture of the team. It was all a family team. We had a couple of friends in there. She taught aerobics, balancing to elderly people in her 70s. So she walked all the time. She always walked around the block 4 miles almost every day, walked the kids to school when they were in grammar school. So she was extremely physically fit. It was her mind that went. So I had to really watch her. I had like this pet peeve. She was always like going into the bedroom and stripping all the blankets off the bed. Drove me nuts. And we have a dog, so she dragged them on the floor and they'd get all dog hair. I'd have to wash them. She would get into the dressers, take all the clothes out, put them on the floor. So it was so stressful. And she was aggressive. I've had to have an x-ray on my wrist because she threw a little ceramic urn at me, a little like ceramic creamer at me, and that woman had good aim and she got me right in the wrist, and boy, didn't that hurt. So I thought it was broken. I had to go have x-ray. She just did tissue damage. She has thrown one of those great big cans of pineapple juice at me. You can't help but laugh. Her aim is really good. Thank God I was far enough away that she didn't hit me with that. But even now, she's still aggressive. I get really close to her when she's laying in bed, and I'll talk softly to her. And sometimes she'll haul off and deck me. Just go, okay, you don't want to talk to me right now. That's okay. I'll back off. I know when I'm not wanted. But it's just so funny because she's not the woman that raised me. My mom was super kind, super sweet, and just really delicate, I guess you could say. Always cared about how she was dressed. But she just totally flopped. And let me tell you, the moon has a huge effect on their behavior. Full moon, whoo, and it will last for days, before and after. So if you are experiencing this, random agitation, it could be the moon. Check out where your moon phase is. If this is something that you guys, if any of you are thinking about doing as a caregiver, it is not easy. It's not easy at all. You are tied to that person 24/7. I'm very thankful that for the most part, my mom slept through the night, except for during those moon phases, full moon phases. But you're constantly on watch. Now, as far as the incontinence, that comes with the territory. They will be incontinent of both urine and stool. To me, and that bothers a lot of people. To me, it's no different than changing a child. It's just a bigger area. It doesn't bother me at all. Now, caring for someone with dementia, it's a hard job, but it's also lonely. It's a very lonely job. You feel alone doing it. And you are alone. You're by yourself 24/7 with them, and it's just lonely. You don't have a life outside of home, but it's something that you have to sacrifice to do it. But I don't have any regrets. I'm so glad I was able to do it for my mom. I keep coming back on because I think of things that are kind of important. My mom would get out sometimes, like if I would take her out, or sometimes she's got out the door when I was watching her, and she'd be walking down the driveway, or I'd catch her down the road a little bit. I never was forceful with her to get her back. I would tell her she needs her purse. She can't go anywhere without her purse because she needs money. And I'd tell her, Mom, you can't go, because she'd be just going to work or wherever she's going. I don't know where she was going. But I would just tell her, you need your purse, Mom. You can't go. Let's go back and get your purse. And she'd turn around and come back. She wouldn't fight me. She wouldn't argue with me. Now, had I gone up to her and said, no, you need to get your butt home. You need to go home, Mom. Or even if I was nice about it, Mom, come on, let's go home. No, she would not have done that because this was not her house. She was not coming here. She was leaving. On a different note, I would try to get her out once a week, and she went through kind of like phases. And one phase, at one point, she wouldn't get out of the truck, or if she got out of the truck, she wouldn't go to the front door. It wasn't her house. She wasn't coming in, and I would have to I would get behind her and hold her arms in front of her and like push her and walk her in, and she would push back on me, but that's the only way I could get her in the house. When she was in the house, she was fine. Sometimes she wasn't, and I talk about all the bad times. We did have some good times. My mom and my dad loved to dance, and they loved their music, the 50s countries. So I made a playlist for Mom, and I got her some headphones, and she was singing and dancing around, and I'd sometimes dance with her and sing with her. We actually did that a lot. But my friend was over, and we were in the kitchen, and Mom had left the kitchen and was doing her pacing, but with her headphones on. Well, all of a sudden we hear her. It sounded like she was wailing, like bawling. And my friend and I just looked at each other, and we took off running after my mom. And we rounded the corner, and she was singing the cattle call song. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but they yodel, and my mom was trying to yodel. She wasn't crying. I laughed so hard. But yeah, we had our good times, while she's going through her dementia. She's not always angry, and she does laugh a lot, and she does smile a lot. She has the prettiest smile ever. It just goes right up her face, up her cheeks, and into her eyes. But sundowners, I don't know if you've ever heard of sundowners. There is such a thing called sundowners. Mom does not have sundowners. A lot of people have told me, it sounds like she has sundowners. She doesn't. Sundowners is exactly what it's called. When the sun goes down, you can have somebody that's great all day, sweet people, so nice. When that sun drops, they are like Jekyll and Hyde. They turn on you every night. It's the weirdest thing I have ever worked with. At the nursing home, I experienced that so much. Mom's aggression is anytime. It could be anytime. So she doesn't have sundowners. Sundowners is when they're fine all day, and then when that sun goes down, they do become aggressive. Now, as far as the moon is concerned, I did a little research on that, and they say the moon plays havoc with your melatonin in your body. It lowers your melatonin. Excuse me. It lowers your melatonin, and that's why I feel like Mom wasn't sleeping at night, because when that full moon came, she did not sleep very well at all. She was probably up every 2 hours. Now, being a caregiver, it is hard. You don't get a break. My grandchildren had birthdays. I had to bring her to birthdays. I've had a couple times where I've had a couple people watch my mom so I could get away for a couple hours, but it is 24/7. It's not easy. There have been times where she gets me so frustrated, and I just had it. I'd go out on the porch and cry. Some days she would just be so aggressive to me that she would seek me out to hurt me. And most of the time, that was like when I would be like, no, you need to go in your room until you calm down, because I can't deal with that. And that's okay. I'm not hurting her. I'm not leaving her in there for hours, maybe like 3 minutes. And sometimes she'd go to the door, but then I could hear her. She's in there playing, getting into the dressers, taking all my clothes out. But you have to take care of your mental health. A lot of people, this is hard for me, but it's not. I have to think about how I take care of her. This is no different than having a child. A bratty child, yes. but this is kind of how it is. You know, when I raised my kids, I was always there. I was always the one caring for them. We didn't get a babysitter that often. So that's basically, it's an adult it's a child in an adult body that I take care of. But you just have to kind of go with the flow. And you have to be dedicated. I have been told when I first signed up for this that I wasn't going to be able to handle it. I knew I would, because I owed this to my mom. My parents' family always came first with them, always. And they would have like, say something happened to me when I was a young adult, I was paralyzed or became a vegetable, they would care for me. They wouldn't put me in a home. They would care for me. And I felt I needed to do that. And that's all my mother asked, was to not be put in a home. And that's what I wanted to do. But if you are thinking about caring for one of your family members that has dementia, it is a lot of work. It's a thankless job. And your life is pretty much done. You have no life. It's all about the person you're caring for. It is rewarding because I get to spend these last days with my mom. Nobody else can say that. I see her go through all these changes, but then there are good times. There's good times when I put one of her old songs on, and she starts dancing, and I get up and dance with her, and she's smiling and she's laughing. I see things, I give her a baby doll, and she'll talk to the doll and like it's her baby. It's really rewarding in that aspect, you know. I just get to be with my mom. And I'll never regret it, ever. But it is hard. It is hard. And if it is something that you're thinking of doing and you need advice, message me, make a comment, and I'll talk to you. And no two people are the same when they're going through this disease. Everybody could be different. Now, had it been my dad that had dementia and acted like she does, I don't think I would be able to handle him because he was a big, rugged man. But who knows? I would have given it a go. I would have given it all I had. But I'm thankful that it was my mom. She's a tiny little peanut, and I can pretty much handle her. And when she does get a little agitated and comes at me, I have to chuckle. You know, sometimes it makes me ugly, but I have to chuckle sometimes because it's just not her character. And it's like, oh, you got some spice in you. But yeah, so if you ever get in the situation where this is happening to you and you need some advice or whatever, I'm here to talk to you. And you have to be able to do it too. I mean, I was fortunate. I was able to sell my house and move in here and care for her. But that's it. I just wanted to do a little dementia video with you guys, and hopefully this helps out anybody that's experiencing this. Oh, I did want to say one thing. There are so many times that I see on the news, people that have memory issues are missing because they've taken off in their vehicle. Stop that crap. As a family member of somebody that's going through this and you know it, you need to stop it. I don't care if you're taking wires out of the car. Those people are going to kill somebody or they're going to kill themselves. And they're going to die in the worst possible way. If they get out of the house and become hypothermic in the middle of winter, you need to stop that. You have to put your foot down with them, whether they want to hear it or not. Be sneaky about it. But their safety and other people's safety is more important than you hurting their feelings. There's just too many silver alerts out there. So put an end to it. I mean, we need to take care of that generation, our parents, our aunts, our uncles, our grandparents. you need to really take care of them because they took care of you, whether they like it or not. Unfortunately, it's going to sting, but they'll forget it eventually, you know. But that's it. I'm all done preaching now. But I just wanted to, you know, get on and just talk to you a little bit about my life and what I go through with my mom. I'm very happy that I'm able to do this. I'm very fortunate. So that's it. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.